Before you dance, your body has often already decided. You're standing at the edge of the dance floor, the music is playing, you just want to watch, and yet something happens. Your foot starts moving, your chest responds, your head nods. And maybe your hips move just a little before you've even consciously decided, I'm going to dance now. The question is, what exactly does your physical body know that your conscious mind doesn't quite know yet? Because that's exactly where this episode begins. Not with dance moves and not with technique. Not with the question of whether you look good, but with that moment when your body reacts faster than your mind. And if bachata has something special to offer, it's exactly that. Bachata connects you with a version of yourself that doesn't have to explain everything first. It's a version that feels, that reacts, feels, follows, protects itself, opens up. Sometimes braver than you are in everyday life, and maybe sometimes even more honest. And today it's about embodiment, about incarnation, and about the question, why dance? Not only does it reveal a deeper sense of the unique person you are today, but it also highlights exactly why dancing can fundamentally shape and develop who you eventually become. You don't simply move your body, you fully embody different, profound states of being. And maybe that is exactly the reason why some of those beautiful dances stay with you for many hours long after they have ended.
Welcome to Bachata Cafe, a podcast exploring dance, intimacy, and psychology.
I'm Eddie. Welcome to episode 9 of Bachata Cafe. Today it's about the dance floor as a mirror, as a training ground, and as a preview of a version of yourself that may already exist within you. Let's move on to part 1. This is a short sentence that is very clear and simple. There's a phrase you often hear in the dance scene. The way you dance is the way you live. And the controlling person on the dance floor is also controlling in life. The closed off person remains closed off outside as well, meaning outside the dance floor. If you can't let go while dancing, you can't let go in relationships either. Those who perform instead of connecting probably do so everywhere. And that sounds very profound. It sounds like psychology. It sounds like truth. But it's not that simple. I have met people who are quiet, reserved, yes, almost invisible in everyday life. And on the dance floor, suddenly the whole room explodes. They take over the space. They shine, they are open, they connect with strangers as if it were the most natural thing in the world. And I have seen the opposite. People who are very loud, very confident, very dominant in everyday life. And when dancing, or especially during the first dance, they suddenly become shy. They become small, stiff, controlling, overthinking, as if somehow the dance floor reveals something. Something they would otherwise be able to hide very well in their lives. And I know myself, I have been dancing bachata for 5 years. A lot has changed, but not everything has automatically transferred into my life or into my everyday routine. For example, my self-confidence, I didn't just gain it outside the dance floor simply by dancing bachata. That required other work. So the question arises, is that statement at the beginning not true? Yes, but only partially. The dance floor isn't a lie detector. It's also not a magical character test. But it is a space where your patterns become physically visible, and also how you allow closeness, how you hold tension, how you react when you can't control everything, how you lead, how you follow, yes, how you show yourself, how you present yourself. And with that, we've arrived at the real point of this episode. A dance floor doesn't just show who you are, it shows which states your body already knows and which ones you haven't yet fully embodied everywhere. And that is the fundamental distinction between a pleasant metaphor about dancing and the physical reality of a body made. Now let us proceed forward into the next segment of part 2 of this episode. namely what a body made really means, so that we're all talking about the same thing. Embodiment is often explained in a very dry way. Yes, body and mind are connected. Period. But what you do physically influences what you feel. And what you feel influences how your body behaves. And that's true. That's a fact. That's how it is in reality. But that's not yet the core of it. Because embodiment means your body is not just an expression of your inner world. It is, or rather, the body is one of the architects, an architect of your inner world. It takes part. For example, the way you breathe, the way you stand, the way you maintain eye contact, the way you hold tension, the way you allow yourself to be touched, the way you take up space, the way you act on impulses, and much more. And all of that not only shows what is happening inside you, it also helps shape what is possible within you. It can unlock or develop potentials or even clear them out if they are overlaid, overshadowed, buried, or whatever the case may be. You can understand self-confidence, for example, in your mind. So, self-confidence. But you still don't embody it. Hey, I am confident. Or you can say, hey, I am confident. That is a completely different thing. And you can want closeness and still be hard when in contact. You can intend to be present. And as soon as someone gets too close to you, your system switches back to control. And this is exactly where it gets interesting, because the mind often understands faster than the body trusts. That's why pure insight sometimes changes so little. You can understand 100 times that control now creates distance. But if your body still starts to protect itself when you feel insecure, and in the last episodes, if you look at episodes 5 to 8, those are the topic blocks when it comes to the nervous system. And if you start to protect yourself because of insecurity, then you fall back into those old patterns or behaviors. No, you may understand what it means. Yes, like I said earlier, for example, to have self-confidence. But then something happens on the dance floor. Something, yes, that you're not prepared for, something you don't know. Maybe even a trigger, and you automatically slip back into your old pattern. That means the body hasn't embodied it yet. It just reacts. It sees something. The nervous system and many other parts of the body switch on, or systems to be more precise. And then you might start again, maybe explaining again, holding on too tightly again. Maybe you try to take over too much again instead of just letting things run their course for once. If you say, I give an impulse and then I just see what happens. So maybe the woman does the move. Yeah, and if she doesn't do it, so what? I do my thing. I just make sure I don't fall to the floor, that everything is fine. We stay with the music, make sure she's safe, and so on. Instead of saying, okay, wow, now she didn't do it. Now I take over everything again. I need control. Bam, I hold her tight again and force her into my moves and so on. And that's exactly why embodiment means that my body can carry this state. And that's why presence is also, yeah, not just a thought. Presence is actually a state in the nervous system. And that's why trust is also not just a value. Trust also shows itself in your breathing, in your muscle tone, in your gaze, in timing, in the quality of contact, in leading, in following, in your decision and leading. It's a physical impulse that is clear enough or becomes hard. And that's exactly why bachata is so powerful. But bachata doesn't explain these things to you. Bachata lets you experience or feel these things physically. You can't really lead if your body is unclear. And you also can't really follow if your body is constantly anticipating things, always on alert. And you're already thinking, I already know what's going to happen. Now I'll do this and that. And that happens very often. For example, I see this especially when women dance with each other. It happens very often. They are often not present. They already know what's going to happen. But of course, that's not true for everyone. And yes, you also can't really connect or bond if you're constantly observing internally. And you also can't be musical or express your musicality, explore it however you want to call it. If you're just counting in your head the whole time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and not listening to your body, what does your body want to do? It's the same with breaks. Often you can sense them coming and you can just react somehow. And even if that's just with your fingers and you haven't done anything with your feet, your chest, your hips, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. And from a scientific perspective, there are researchers and therapists like Bessel van der Kolk and Peter Levine have repeatedly pointed out that experiences or stress reactions and protective patterns don't just exist as thoughts. So they also show up in your body, in your posture, in your breathing, in your muscle tension, in your movement, in your perception, and in your nervous system. That means the body also stores a lot, a lot. You can think of it like software and hardware. Our brain is the software, or at least our mind, and everything that's in the body, everything that's material, physical, is the hardware. It's like storage space on a computer, and both are connected. The hardware doesn't work without the software, and vice versa. And now comes the most important sentence, and this one is really important to me. It does not mean that bachata replaces therapy. And it also doesn't mean that every dance heals something, because there's a lot of talk going around. Too much is being said that bachata replaces therapists and heals. And everyone feels great. And I always hear that on the dance floor too. Mostly from women, very rarely from men. But it could also be because I often talk to women, so of course I hear more about men from them. But what it really means is if your body or if the body is involved in our patterns, then change also has to happen through the body. It has to be, in quotation marks, I'll use the dreaded word now, healed through the body. And bachata is a space where you physically repeat states. Closeness, trust, boundaries, leading, surrender, presence, expression. You name it. And that is embodiment in real time. And now comes the point that explains why your body sometimes starts dancing before your mind has even decided what it wants to do. And that is part 3. This is the Carpenter effect. In movement psychology and sports science, there exists a concept known as the Carpenter effect. It is also commonly called the ideomotor effect. And the fundamental principle behind it is simple. When you see a movement or vividly imagine performing a movement, your body already starts to develop a natural tendency to move. And to put it in sports science terms, since that's also my background, a little bit, the muscle fibers, they start twitching. And this is something that can be scientifically measured and proven. That means just because you're thinking about it now, let me give you an example. I now imagine that I'm punching the screen with my fist. It still doesn't actually happen, but I can feel how the muscles that would be responsible for that movement are getting ready to act. That something is stirring there, and you can feel that. I imagine it, but it doesn't happen automatically yet. But that's already good training, and many professional athletes and also many professional dancers use it. Especially when they're injured, they use this mental imagery training so that they don't lose their coordination or their movement plan, as it's called in sports science, because everything we do when we learn figures is stored as a movement plan so that we can then execute them smoothly. And that later results in embodiment, yes, meaning that the body then knows it and the processes run automatically and so on. And you saw that it's not visible either, so no one can imagine what I just imagined. And yes, it's also not complete, but as I said, the system simply prepares a movement. And that's why, in the end, when we're standing on the sidelines, for example, listening to music, we see people moving, then your foot just starts moving to the music, even though you actually just wanted to watch. That's why, I don't know, your body sometimes imitates certain beats on the dance floor, sometimes just minimally. Or when you see someone doing something, Then sometimes you just copy it intuitively with very small movements. And that's why good dancers, or good male and female dancers, all three, often feel very fluid because they're not thinking about every single step. Like, okay, what do I have to do now? But instead they just do it. And that's it. And their body recognizes it's actually always a pattern and anticipates possibilities and reacts even faster than language could explain. If you've really danced for 1,000,000 hours at some point and have done every movement at least once, and yes, you can do it, then you just have so many possibilities that you know, now A, B, C, D, F, or X, Y, Z could happen. Definitely not. And then you know, okay, I don't know exactly what's coming, but it's probably going to be one of these things. And I'm ready for anything because I can handle everything. If I only have one movement plan, then I want to have that security. And then we're back to the topics I mentioned earlier, without digressing too much now. But then I say, I know this and now I'll do that. And I'm not ready to do something else because that's not in my movement plan. That would be, in a way, the scientific explanation for some of the things that happen. But let's get back to the topic. All of this isn't magic. It's not hocus pocus. It's simply learning. And what you practice with your body often enough eventually becomes available to you. And in the beginning, it's your head that counts. 1, 2, 3, tap, 5, 6, 7, tap. Which figure am I doing? Which hand? Which direction? How do I look? What is the other person thinking? Did I hit the beat just now? Is there a break coming up? I don't know what. And then at some point, this knowledge sinks deeper. Understanding then becomes ability. And ability turns into availability. And eventually it becomes a state of being. And the beginner just thinks, okay, what do I do next? Shit, now I've already repeated my figure 3 times. I don't know what I should do. Nothing left in the tank. And the more advanced dancer thinks, okay, which option fits now? Now this is coming up. I don't know. Am I in derecho now? Am I in maho? And the really good dancers, I don't want to say advanced or pro now, simply the ones who are good, they listen to the music, they feel the connection, and their body just responds naturally. I don't want to call it automatic, but they just don't think about it. They do whatever they feel in that moment and just lead it out. And they're not thinking because they don't know what to do, but because the knowledge is simply no longer trapped in their head. It's in their body. It is embodied. And that's also the difference between technique and presence. Technique is important. Without technique, there is no freedom. But technique is just a door. And presence begins when you walk through that door. And you stop constantly looking at the doorknob, like, okay, now I have to open it again. And then you take off. And if you want to not only dance bachata, but really understand it, then subscribe to Bachata Cafe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify. Because here, it's not just about dancing, but about everything else that happens around it. Now it gets specific. What exactly do you train in bachata? Actually, besides the steps? And this is part 4. And that's bachata, as a, let's call it, embodiment laboratory. Bachata is not just a dance style. Bachata is also a social space in which your body is constantly processing information. Music, closeness, timing, distance. Touch, gaze, tension, boundaries, intention, reaction, strangers, shared rhythm, and so on. And that's exactly why bachata is an embodiment laboratory. Laboratory simply means you get immediate feedback. Not theoretical, physical, practical. And if your impulse is unclear, it will come across as unclear. And if you lead too forcefully, the dance.
If you enjoyed this episode, send it to a dancer from your bachata community. Write me in the comments what your thoughts are on today's topic. And if you want to learn more about bachata, connection, and psychology, follow the Bachata Cafe. If you want to be part of the Bachata Cafe community, we'll see each other on the dance floor.